Picture this. It's the 2nd of October 2002. A 55-year-old man gets out of his car. It's slightly cold and the refreshing autumn wind is lightly biting at his skin. As he walks across the parking lot, he thinks about maybe what his wife might be cooking for dinner tonight. Or perhaps he's thinking about calling his daughter who recently started at his new job. As soon as his thoughts start whirring, it stops. Actually, everything stops. Because at about 800 meters per second, a bullet from a sniper strikes down this 55-year-old man in the parking lot of Wheaton, Maryland. By October 22nd, 10 days after, a total of 10 people would be dead. The DC sniper attacks is an infamous case for many reasons. However, for me, this particular case introduced me to the world of mind reading. Offender profiling, the investigative strategy that uses behavioral science, forensics, and psychology to predict the motives of killers, and has been around since the 1888 Jack the Ripper case. What fascinates me the most was about how the DC sniper case was solved. Tarot cards were left at several shootings with the phrase, "For you, Mr. Police, call me God, do not release to the press." From these simple phrases, criminal profilers see remnants of a person's identity. This was the key takeaways. Snipers are often known as having a godlike complex. They literally play God by snuffing out light from above. Next, someone with the experience of a sniper likely has military experience, therefore could be an older man. However, in the letter, it says Mr. Police, which suggests a younger man, as they show respect for the authoritative position, which contradicts the thoughts of the sniper being an older man. In conclusion, it was two snipers. The way experts came to such a conclusion and were right, just based on some words on a card, absolutely blew my mind at 15 years old. From then on, I made it my mission to try and learn how to profile not just criminals, but regular people. After years of reading, studying, and pattern recognition, I created my template. Behavioral profiling for me bubbles down to BPEs, which stand for Behavior, Personality, and Environment. These are the stilts that actions and interactions are balanced on. Furthermore, BPEs can be visualized as a basic human stick figure. A spine and a head represent who and what we are, and jutting out into past and present are legs, representing our roots, and arms representing our actions and interactions. Just a disclaimer, this is not a definite or legit academic video. I have come up with this template from existing psychology and science research and my own experience. When analyzing people and after teaching you everything I know, I believe you'll only be successful if you have nuance. You can't just, from a conversation, see that someone's forehead wrinkled and just run with the fact that they might hate whoever they are talking to. Reading body language and facial language is incredibly difficult and unpredictable. But with probability on your side, you can predict behaviors semi-accurately. So, like any science experiment, you have to account for other variables and intake a variety of data to draw a conclusion. Let's start with the spine. The spine I have categorized into statistics, so things that you can easily gather information from, such as your name, your gender, your age, education, and family. Basic statistics about a person can greatly narrow who you are looking at. We have been taught stereotypes are bad. However, probable stereotypes play a big part in profiling. Women and men, children and adults, poor or rich, are all labels that harbor specific mannerisms and hobbies. Knowing one's age, gender, and other basic statistics narrow down the parameters that contain your expectations for them. These statistics aren't exactly who they are, but it's what they are. So firstly is gender, and I'm just going to be, for the sake of the video, talking about biological gender, so female and male. Gender is made up of biological predispositions and social learning. It is cultivated by social expectations, communication styles, and cultural roles. For example, females are expected to be presented as feminine, wear makeup, they are more nurturing and emotionally expressive, and better listeners overall. In text, I have found that women use more personal and animate pronouns, as well as use more rational contexts, compared to men who dress themselves more masculine presenting. They are more competitive and assertive. They use quantifiers in their language and often text in a way of informational summaries. I find that gender, even if you can't see it in a person, like through text, you can easily pick up the way that they type and communicate, if they are female or male. Next is age. And I have broken up into different age categories and given you what I have observed from each category. First of all is years 1 to 6. To be honest, they are barely cognitive. They are still babies, so I haven't really observed anything from this age group. 7 to 12, this is the age where they are most susceptible to learning. At this age, you are just forming your opinions. You are being a mimic. You are copying what your parents are doing, what your siblings are doing, and finding your way through life through mimicking others. So if you were to observe kids from the age of 7 to 12, I think it would very much reflect what their home situation is looking like. Next is teens, 13 to 16. At this age, they are still in their high school brain-rotted age. They are emotional, they have a fragile sense of self, and are easily swayed. Next is young adults, 17 to 21. This is where the pressure starts. You are starting to take your education more seriously, perhaps, for your future, and you are beginning to navigate the real world. Lots of people here at this age experience a lot of hardships and start forming their experiences. Next is medium adults, 22 to 30. At this age, you are still figuring things out, but your choices are a catalyst for the future. At this age, you might be just starting to get into your career, just be starting to form who you are in the world. Next is the head, which is the control center and is the invisible bit that's behind every action and interaction. So, views and principles. What set of principles does this person choose to follow, and through what lens do they see the world? Someone's principles can be seen through their actions and their views and what they cast their opinions on. However, many people are hypocrites. They rewrite their story to cast them as the hero. They blatantly step on the same lines they draw for others and pretend the line was never there. Which is why, when you want to uncover someone's true moral compass, you should look out for which of their rules they fiercely protect and step over when it benefits them. Rules are put into place to keep those in power. It serves one and punishes another. If you know what rules or views someone has, it tells you what they believe in and, opposingly, what or who they shun. Next is intention and motive, the why behind actions and interactions. Once you can take in and analyze the bigger picture, you can get a rough idea of the person's intentions. But to be more accurate, you should catalog the person's behavior over a period of time to properly connect their actions to an intention and motive. This is also influenced by beliefs, cultural or religious. So think of, what are they getting out of this interaction? Why choose these words to convey their opinion or request? What are they wearing, and so on. Lastly is choice architecture, the default, the deliberate design of the environment and context in which people make decisions. This is the nudge, subtly steering behavior through layout and defaults. When all else fails, so these two, when making decisions, we are driven by our choice architecture. The default is sort of just pre-selected. It depends on framing, how the information is presented in a positive or negative light, as well as positioning. Is the information or the choice put on a pedestal, and do you make the choice more desirable and put it above others? And lastly is simplicity. Are you removing any unnecessary complex parameters, and they are just going to choose whatever is easiest? So, for example, if you want to steer someone's choice, you could lay out their options, and the one that you want them to choose, you make it sound like it is so much more convenient and easier, and they reap more benefits if they choose that option. Legs. So the right and left leg just represent the past and the present, and legs I use to show what are you rooted in. This could be your experiences, your trauma and triggers, as well as your belief system. So, experiences. Your past experiences shape you. If you were bullied before, it will always stick with you and will show when facing conflict or being oppressed. As you grow, you categorize your experiences as someone you like or dislike, so you know what to do next time it happens. Think of touching something hot. You are conditioned to know that if you touch something hot, it will cause you pain. Therefore, by seeing how people interact in situations, you can see if this is a deep-rooted fear or reaction or not. This is helpful because if you know someone's past experiences are good or bad, it will help you to lean into or away from specific behaviors and make them feel more comforting. Next is trauma and triggers. So, hate is the loudest emotion, so getting to know what people dislike or hate is quite easy to notice. Trauma is a deeply distressing event or chronic stressor that shatters a person's sense of safety. It affects a person's brain chemistry by pressuring the brain to adapt by altering the nervous system to ensure survival. The amygdala becomes hyperactive and learned associations become prominent. So because the brain cannot distinguish between past and present, an involuntary biological stress response could occur. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Triggers are highly personal and specific. For example, take a veteran or an abuse victim. Triggers can be seen through, for example, avoidance, which is when you withdraw from people or the situation. Aggression, where you are desperately in need to take control of the environment. Flight, which is physically removing oneself from the situation. And freeze, disassociation and mentally clocking out of the situation itself. Or fawn, which is when you act as a mediator to diffuse a situation and prevent conflict. Okay, and last is belief systems. This is the foundation of human behavior, identity, and morality. The lens that people see the world through. Belief systems are created to make sense of the unknown and to create order. The advantages are shown through someone's restraint, their honesty, their generosity, and community. This is often spoken aloud, so it's quite easy to take note of, but there are downsides. As you know, no one is perfect, and oftentimes harmful beliefs are passed down and go unnoticed. For example, religion often has overcompensation. A lot of religious people dive headfirst into repentance after committing a sin or to try and make it look like they are pious. This isn't always bad, but oftentimes it is, with shallow intention. Oh my god. Racism, colorism, sexism, homophobia, and more can all be picked up by small microaggressions. Pay careful attention to how people respond to controversial topics. It will tell you all about their politics. I like to subtly bring up pop culture topics with new people I meet because it oftentimes will always reveal people's inner thinking and opinions without creating tension and an opportunity for violence or arguments. Politics are deep. It may not seem like a big deal, but it can quickly develop. Think of beliefs as sort of like an archive, where when you download it, each file is an individual belief, and some files are connected and cannot be installed without the other. So, for example, those who have a left-wing ideology most likely also believe in feminist concepts. It's like pre-installed. This is also to say, if you let it slide that a friend of yours believes in abortion, that abortion should not be illegal, then it could also be that they don't believe in choice feminism or intersectional feminism, and so on. So if you think that a friend of yours or someone's belief isn't that deep, it very much could be. Next is arms. This is the actions, your actions and interactions, past and present. And it includes behaviors, interactions, environment, and costume. So, interactions and behavior. In every interaction, a person displays their behavior. This is something you should catalog over time to see what people's behaviors are, to see what behaviors are a habit. What do they do when they lie? What do they do when uncomfortable? Everyone has a tell for when they lie and get triggered, for example. If you can interpret their behavior, you can see what they don't say. Habitual behavior often follow this pattern: a cue, a routine, and a reward. So a cue could be a trigger, like a time, a place, or an emotion. Then a routine, a physical or a mental action that takes place. And lastly is a reward, a positive or negative reinforcement to help form the pattern. Next is environment. Currently, where are you both? Why are you there? What does it tell you? Are they with anyone? Who do they stick to and surround themselves to? How do they interact with their environment? Next is costume. How are they dressed? Are they wearing layers? Are they dressed formally or informally? Are they wearing makeup? Are they hygienic? People's routines, like getting dressed, putting on makeup or skincare, fixing their hair, are rituals that visually display a variety of information. Remember, but take in other variables such as weather, situation, conditions, and did they go somewhere before this? Impression management. People shape themselves how others perceive them to gain approval or influence. Self-promo, intimidation, exemplification, supplication, compliment fishing, all of these are dependent on self-monitoring. Someone who has high self-monitoring are those with high adaptability. Those with low self-monitoring value self-expression. Social media is also a heavy influence. It tells people what to wear, how to wear it, and how they must act. So why do people listen? Why do they feel the need to listen and be told what to do? In every situation, there is a creator and a consumer. Oftentimes, these are people still trying to find themselves and mimic others to see if it suits them. Like trying on different skin suits because they don't feel comfortable in their own skin. But some people use trends as inspiration. Someone has to be the creator. There are a variety of different variables that affects a costume. Someone's personality could show through their color scheme. Their comfort depends on how many layers they wear. Are they covering up, or do they show off the body that they worked up for at the gym? Accents such as jewelry, bags, hair, are they personal? Are they a necessity? Are they meaningful? Things like makeup, skincare, are they clean shaven? Are their eyebrows and eyelashes done? How about their teeth, their smile? Do they look tired? Things like this also affect how they present themselves. Lastly is pattern habits. These are just a few tips that I have collected that I like to take note of. The first split second is someone's actual emotion. It is how they are feeling without a mask. A few other things are lip pursed, eye blocking, fake smile, pacifying behavior such as crossing your arms or giving yourself a self-hug. A couple red flags that I tend to note is if someone angers easily. Do they blame others? Do they lack empathy or compassion? Do they attack people unnecessarily? Or do they purposefully embarrass and shame others? These are just a few things that I have noticed in people, and I have seen that they may start with these red flags, but it usually tends to cultivate into something more harmful and more destructive. If you've gotten this far in the video, you have gone through the whole template on how to build a behavioral profile. But now what? First of all, remember to gather, contextualize, hypothesize, test, and decide. This is how I would like you to use the templates to the best of your ability. This is what I do as well. I think it would be quite silly to just take whatever small observation you see and run with it. You need a way to test the data and make sure that it is the most effective and true that it can be. A little science lesson. The basal ganglia is a part of your brain that turns repeated choices into automatic behaviors. So at first, you have to think through everything. You notice the hesitation in someone's voice. You decide what it means. You choose how to respond. And, step by step, you'll build the ability to do so quicker. But to understand human behavior, you need a way to interpret what you see, to translate patterns into understanding. This template I've taught you only works when used. The more you actively draw the lines connecting human behavior, the more you will be imprinted in your subconscious. So, when you can understand and predict someone's behavior better than they can, you can steer them. Knowledge is power, and by using the facts about them as tools, you can map out the path for them and direct them to say and do what you want, which is easier said than done. Your first task is to try profiling yourself. Once you can clearly understand your self-image and who you are, the images of others won't bleed into you. When profiling accurately, it is imperative to remain objective and unbiased. You need to step out of yourself and literally put yourself in others' shoes. So these are a couple of the reasons why I want to pressure you into learning the skill. It's fun, it's useful. I think in any job that you have, it can be useful in your career as well as in your personal life. The best way I like to practice this is people watching. First starting off by profiling yourself, then your family and friends, and then maybe strangers that come into your life. And then one thing I like to do is go on forums, social media and forums, where you can use the way people text, their linguistics, and how they choose to present themselves. Because social media, it's not a true reflection of someone. So I think profiling someone with a mask on is so much more fun. Anyway, this is the first video of my SlideShow Tell series. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you would like more content like this, I definitely will be posting more. I hope to research all the little fun topics that have floating around in my head and make it into a fun presentation to share with you guys. Okay, bye bye.